You were worried about going bankrupt, and you talked to like some of your business mentors, and he goes, son, if you don't go bankrupt at least once every 4 years, you ain't doing nothing.
Yeah, man, I was like 28 years old, and we had built the company, and we're going through scaling issues that created cash flow problems. And I pulled my mentor aside. I was in San Diego, a guy named Mike Reynolds out of Colorado, systems contractors. I love you, Mike. Anyway, so I pull him aside, and I'm like, look, and I was really embarrassed to tell him this is like my hero. And I said, listen, I think I'm going to go bankrupt. And I'm expecting him to like tell me how I'm supposed to get out of this situation. And he looks me in the eye, he had a whiskey in his hand. He says, son, if you don't think you're going to go bankrupt about every 4 years, you ain't doing shit anyway. Slaps me on the shoulder, walks away. I can hear him. I'm sitting like this. He's now behind me. And I hear him go, see you at the bar. And I'm just like, and I smiled.
Yeah.
And I felt like I had 1 million pounds lifted off my back.
Sure.
Because if you are actually tough and you are actually bad, there's two things I felt in that moment. The first thing I felt was the release of the fact that even my hero had gone through that. So the weight of what I was dealing with as far as my identity and thinking that I had not worked hard enough or that I wasn't good enough to do it was gone. Then I felt like one of the big G's. You know what I'm saying? Like all of these guys has done it. And that same night, I had actually talked to another mentor of mine, and he told me he'd gone bankrupt 4 times. And this guy was a multi-millionaire. He said, shit, son, you just start again.
Yeah.
And in many ways, it's true. And that's what always leads me to talk about staying in the same fight. Because let's say I would have done that. Let's say that would have happened to me. I still had the same client list. I'd have had the same employees. I'd have had my same relationship with the vendors as long as I was able to pay them off in the transaction. And to be quite honest, I would have had the same business. I would have just got a clean start at it. And I didn't see it that way because it's a lot easier to look at somebody else that's going through something. But when you're actually in it yourself, you feel like it's the end of the world. You think you're the only one that's ever gone through it.
A breakup too.
Same thing. Bro, same thing.
Everyone, when they're going through the breakup, it's the most embarrassing shit ever. But your friends are like, bro, this is the greatest thing. We're going to go out and fucking party again. This is the greatest shit ever. Everyone's happy for you.
And the heartbreak.
Yes. And the heartbreak.
And
exactly.
the heartbreak part.
Yeah.
You can't see that in 2 years you're going to be over it.
Yeah. Or you know what the other part is? So there's a couple of the lessons here. Number one, having a mentor that's clearly knows more than you, that you would at least listen to, that could assuage you of this feeling. When you consider in Bilzerian's book where he talks about falling in love with Sophia Beverly, falling in love with Lauren Blake, and you know these women, and then they hurt him with Jessa Hinton, and they hurt him. By the way, I don't know if he even names their last name in the book. I think I just doxed all that. He does. Okay, yeah. Okay, I was about to say. But yeah, I'm friends with all three of them, and it's really interesting for someone like Dan, who's been with thousands of women, he still gets heartbroken. Someone like your buddy, you expected him to be ashamed of you because you were going bankrupt. In Men of Action, one of the things we do, often we turn the recording off, and what do we talk about? If a guy is thinking about taking his own life, when a guy has been cheated on, often we have that type of situation, and we discuss it with them because I want to let them know, hey man, this sucked for me too. This is something I went through. I tell that, I'm not going to say it right now, but the Jamaica story. I tell that story.
Always.
I tell the story all the time to just kind of.
But that's also why, going back to what we talked about earlier, where you have all these people giving advice who are not qualified to give advice. In those situations, that's how you know who to take advice from. Because if someone's really gone through it, you're going to know. Yeah. Right? And that's why, from my perspective, seeing you guys are much older than me, I almost don't take advice from any men under 30.
Yeah.
So you haven't you haven't had the experience, and when people have a mentor, they can very easily see quickly that you don't have that experience.
Have you guys seen the video of Chris Williamson kind of not almost like scolding Hamza, where he was like, dude, you did it.
I saw it.
You saw it. For the longest time, all you were doing was you had the alpha way to sit, the alpha way to talk, though everything was perfect, so that when things went bad, everyone was ready to fucking dunk on you. Whereas for me, I'll tell you, I came to Las Vegas and would get dunked. I got kicked out of so many goddamn tables, and I had the girl I was sitting there talking to and thought she was the girl of my dreams, and she just walked off with a fucking DJ or a coke dealer. This happened to me so many times. I got dunked on. Dude, I went to college with one of the guys on The Bachelorette. Okay, he wasn't on The Bachelorette at the time. We would go to parties together, and I didn't understand that women like gave that much of a shit about looks, they wouldn't even look at me. I didn't even understand these things. The first time I was like considering playing college football, and I would go out there and like, I am not fast enough to fucking play with these guys. When you can admit that these things happen to you, then I think it makes you more relatable, because a lot of times if it's like, even in Andrew's situation, if Andrew gives someone some advice of like, well, I don't have a Bugatti. Like, you know what I'm saying? So he has to make it relatable. Same thing you do. It's like my origin story. I'm from South Louisiana, right? Yep. Those things have to be there too. So they have to see both ends of the spectrum. This is me when I had a bunch of success, and then this is me when I started off. You asked me just the other day, you said, Michael, do the nightclubs intimidate you? When did that go away, right? Then I had to tell you, yes, it did. When I first got here, I was like, God damn, man, that's fucking Kim Kardashian and Paris Hilton, like, what the fuck? Dude, there's my favorite. There's Pat Mahomes, like, right here, like, what's going on? I can't get up there. What's going on? And then everything after a while changes, and the relatability of that growth story, which is something really great with you. I love one of the stories you tell. You kept going to a site, giving your resume over and over again. This is 15 years ago, I believe, and you kept going there over and over again. And then eventually they gave you a shot, and then you faked the amount of funds you had in order to take a test so that you could end up being certified.
Yeah, what happened was I went to that job site multiple times until they finally gave me a job. There's a big story to that, but basically what I did is when I got the job, I didn't need that amount of money. They were actually paying me quite well. I was 24.
Yeah.
And so I went to the bank and I auto drafted it all into this account of like 80% of it. I lived off the per diem. And then that $10,000 net worth is what I had to have to apply for my contractor's license.
Yeah.
But that was just my residential, and I wanted also to have my commercial. So I moved the money to another bank account and applied for the commercial with that same money. Looking back, I always joke that I'm not sure if I had to do that, but that's what I fucking did.
Yeah.
And we got it done, man. And that was a whole lot of metal buildings ago. A lot of steel been hung since then.
What would you say? So the other thing I think you and I both agree is the first million is the hardest.
Yeah, you know what I always say also about the first million is that there's more happiness between 0 to 1 million than there is from 1 million to 10 million.
Because
I can tell you, because most of the things that are actually going to make you happy are inside the 0 to 1 million.
Yeah.
So, for example, do you remember that time in your life where you didn't know if you could scan your card or not, or if you could cover dinner?
Yeah, I was in college.
Knowing you can cover dinner at any point, at any time, in any restaurant, no matter how many people are at the table, order whatever you want, get entrees, get drinks, run it up, and you don't have to worry about it. That's a 0 to 1 million problem, normally.
Yeah.
Knowing that you can go in the store and swipe and get any custom suit, buy a watch, get a car. Well, it's a 0 to 1 million problem.
Yeah.
You know, and so with most of that, and that is also where most of that happiness curve is going to be. I can tell you, when I was from 0 to 1 million versus 1 million to 10 or to a 20 million, $30 million net worth, bro, like your happiness does not change that much.
Yes.
It really doesn't. In fact, the only thing that is not there in that equation from 0 to 1 million, 1 million to 10 is status. That's the only thing that's actually just not for sale. And then understanding a frame and understanding a women in game. But status kind of pushes those things. And lucky enough, we live in a world where you can work hard enough to gain fame.
Yes.
If you really think about it, really, if you just simply work your ass off and do not quit on social media, and then you get the right teams and the right systems running, you can now in 2024, and probably as far as back as I would say YouTube, actually earn status.
Yes.
First time ever.
Yeah.
Used to that was not a thing. Now
that could be more powerful than the money you would have earned anyway.
It can. The status can actually, if you were to tell a young man at 25 that he could have status or $1 million, I would take the status, because you can monetize far more than $1 million out of the status. But the status is not for sale. You can either earn it or you can't. I mean, that's basically it. Or that you already had it through being an athlete or something else.
Yeah.
But we are in this weird time in history where if you can get the status, you'll always be able to earn the money.
Yeah.
Always.
Isn't it crazy? Yeah, the way
It's
that
the craziest
things change. Not letting one go too far in front of the other, I think, is important. We've seen the guys who are the Twitch streamers who are broke, living on their mom's couch, but they're famous. They can't make anything stick. And then we've also seen the guys who are super wealthy, and then they end up like just paying girls on seeking arrangement because that's the only way they know how to get attraction. They have to buy attraction from women. Whereas what the best idea is, and I've heard Andrew talk about this, and I've heard Dan talk about this, which is the concept of using money to create a reality to where not only are women competing for your attention, but those women are also becoming attracted to you. And so you don't want to use one without the other. You don't want to go too far in one direction.
I completely agree. I was talking to a young man the other day. He's actually pretty well known. I'm not going to say his name, but he's big podcast. He's done really well. He's young. How old are you?
24.
Yeah, so he's a little bit older than you, like a year or two max.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing these questions that he has for me, and I'm kind of smiling, and I'm thinking to myself, he doesn't realize it today that he has all the cards.
What do you mean?
He's young, he's handsome, he's tall, and he has status, and he makes a decent amount of money. And so what he's going to learn over the next 5 to 6 years is, number one, that he is the one that's actually the prize in the situation. And it's probably best that his money and his status kind of ladder up.
Yeah.
So he doesn't go from, a cold bucket of water to boiling hot, because he's not gonna be able to handle the acceleration of it.
If you're rich and you don't have game, you're a target. Do you guys, fellas out there, for those of you who are watching, the first time you make 100, 200, 300 grand a year, or you start flipping homes and you actually have some real cash in your account, if you have no game, you have negative game. You're a fucking target, bro.
I feel like richer guys in general struggle with women more than poor guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, from our standpoint, that is something we say.
Hey,
yeah.
let's keep it 100.
Yeah.
Let's keep it 100, guys. Like, we're in a very special situation to be talking about this subject right now.
Sure. Yeah.
I just walked in with a gentleman who's 70 years old, who got in touch with me through somebody he knows from a senator he knows, and she's running. She put him in touch with me, and he's here right now. Won't say his name, won't say what state, but he's here with me because he slept with a woman 40 years younger than him. He's been sending her crypto money. Now there's a multi-million-dollar bag sitting on his phone that she is in control of, and we're about to take it back away from her.
Fuck yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Let's do it.
Insanity.
But a great example of the situation. So let me get this straight, my friend.
Yeah.
She's 30, 40 years younger than you. She's telling you she loves you through Facebook and to send her crypto. And now her mom has her aunt has breast cancer. And now he's a pig and all these things. I'm reading the text messages and I'm like, this is a great example of a guy who worked really hard, got in a really good financial position, was a target, and now we're going to help him get out of it. But even when we walk away today, he's still going to be a target.
Yeah. Because if he doesn't have game, he's always going to be a target. Yeah.
Hey, so you stayed to the end. If you're watching this, I have a gift for you. Click the link below and I will show you how to position yourself as a high status man for free. Yes, free.